Your mirror is lying to you. That thinning hair and sagging skin isn't natural aging. It's a desperate biological triage. Right now, your body is violently eating itself alive just to survive the night. Watch until the very end to stop this silent decay before your framework completely collapses. Look into the mirror. What if I told you that the flawless reflection you strive for, the expensive serums, the prescription steroid creams, the synthetic cosmetics, is nothing more than a piece of opaque black tape slapped over a flashing red warning light? We are a society driving our biological vehicles at breakneck speed toward a cliff, completely oblivious to the fact that our fuel gauge is sitting on empty and the engine is tearing itself apart from the inside. We are rotting from within, yet we obsess over polishing the exterior shell. It is a terrifying, desperate illusion. We are using pharmaceuticals and cosmetics as biochemical blindfolds, willfully ignoring the silent, agonizing screams of cellular starvation echoing through our very veins. Healthy Aging Canada warmly welcomes you to a revelation that will fundamentally alter how you view your own biology. If you are ready to tear off the blindfold and uncover the profound, often shocking truths hidden deep within your cells, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support is the vital heartbeat that empowers us to continue decoding these life-saving mysteries for you. You must awaken to a ruthless, fundamental biochemical reality. The physical symptoms that frustrate you, the failing skin, the thinning hair, the brittle nails, the aching joints, are not random errors of nature or mere bad luck. They are the calculated, desperate acts of a biological phenomenon known as triage. When your body faces a catastrophic famine of vital micronutrients, it does not simply panic, it calculates. It ruthlessly prioritizes your immediate, short-term survival over your long-term vitality. Your innate intelligence will literally mine essential minerals from your bones, steal structural proteins from your skin, and strip vital cofactors from your hair follicles just to keep your heart beating for one more day, to keep your liver filtering for one more hour. Physical deterioration is not merely the passage of time. It is the ultimate, tragic lagging indicator of an internal physiological collapse. Imagine a deeply polluted fish tank. The fish inside are suffocating, their scales are shedding, their eyes clouded with toxicity. Our modern medical instinct is to pull the dying fish out, slather a chemical ointment on its rotting scales, and toss it right back into the very poison that is killing it. It is absolute madness. We must change the water. We must cleanse the biological terrain. But to understand how our internal waters became so violently toxic, we must unearth the three hidden roots of this systemic starvation. The first profound tragedy is the illusion of nourishment. You have been told your entire life that you are what you eat, but that is a comforting lie. You are only what you can digest, absorb, and assimilate into the deepest, microscopic layers of your cells. We are living through a silent epidemic of malabsorption, fundamentally broken from the inside out. Your intestinal lining was designed as a magnificent forest of microscopic villi, built to effortlessly draw life from the Earth's bounty. Instead, we flood our fragile systems with highly inflammatory industrial seed oils and synthetic gluten. These modern concoctions act as biological sandpaper, violently shearing away the delicate brush border of our intestines. Compound this with the modern catastrophe of sluggish livers and missing gallbladders. Without the vital biological detergent of bile, the essential fat-soluble life givers, vitamins A, D, E, and K, simply wash through our digestive tracts like water pouring through a broken funnel. We are quite literally starving to death in the middle of a grand feast, surrounded by abundance but completely unable to absorb its grace. Yet, even if our digestive funnels were perfectly intact, we face a second, far more devastating reality rooted beneath our feet. We are consuming greater volumes of food than any generation in the history of humanity, yet our cells are crying out an absolute famine. The murder weapon is modern agriculture. Through the relentless bombardment of aggressive chemical fertilizers and synthetic pesticides, we have committed a silent genocide against the soil microbiome. The ancient fungi and bacteria that once breathed organic, bioavailable life into our crops are dead. Because the soil is dead, the plant is dead. The brilliant red tomatoes and vibrant green spinach leaves you place in your grocery cart are nothing more than structural ghosts. They possess the color and shape of nourishment, but their true nutrient density was hollowed out decades ago. This tragic disparity between massive physical volume and absolute microscopic emptiness is what drives your endless, insatiable cravings. Your stomach stretches with the sheer weight of these empty foods, but your brain continues to trigger relentless hunger hormones because it is desperately searching for the trace minerals and amino acids that simply no longer exist. Finally, we must confront the ultimate thief in the night: refined sugar and processed carbohydrates. These are not merely innocent, empty calories. They are aggressive, malicious anti-nutrients. They act as a ruthless metabolic sponge. To process a single molecule of synthetic glucose, your body is forced to weaponize its own internal reserves. It must drag B vitamins, magnesium, calcium, and zinc out of your precious tissues just to force this synthetic fuel through your cellular energy cycles. Because these refined grains have been stripped completely naked of the vitamins they once held in nature, your body is forced to pay the toll. Every single time you consume a refined carbohydrate, you are initiating a violent biochemical robbery against your own nervous system, your bones, and your brain. Over the years, this silent, continuous extraction completely bankrupts your cellular reserves, leaving you entirely hollowed out and setting the stage for the cascading physical nightmares we are about to decode. Having witnessed the violent biochemical robbery happening within our digestive tracts and the barren reality of our soils, we can finally understand why our outer shell is so rapidly crumbling before our very eyes. When you stand beneath the harsh fluorescent lights of your bathroom and pull at the sagging skin beneath your jaw, or stare in quiet horror at the expanding part in your hairline, you are not witnessing the inevitable curse of chronological aging. You are bearing witness to the brutal, unforgiving mathematics of nutritional triage. The human body is a masterpiece of survival prioritization, and it possesses an agonizingly clear hierarchy of needs. When the raw materials required to sustain life become scarce, your internal intelligence makes a cold, calculated decision. Your superficial tissues are entirely expendable. Your skin, your hair, and your nails are the absolute lowest priorities on the biological totem pole. You can survive for decades with thinning hair and deeply wrinkled, parchment-like skin, but you will perish in minutes if your heart muscle fails or your diaphragm ceases to contract. Therefore, when your modern, hollow diet fails to deliver the essential amino acids, trace minerals, and fat-soluble vitamins your cells desperately require, your body initiates a systematic dismantling of your exterior to save your interior. Consider the tragic loss of collagen, the magnificent structural scaffolding that gives youth its resilience, its bounce, and its radiant vitality. We are told to buy expensive creams and inject synthetic fillers to prop up this collapsing matrix, completely ignoring the fact that collagen is not something you can simply rub onto a starving organism. It is a complex, living protein network that your body must actively synthesize from within, a process that absolutely demands a continuous, massive influx of bioavailable vitamin C, copper, and profound quantities of specific amino acids like glycine and proline. When you consume a diet heavy in refined carbohydrates and entirely devoid of organ meats and connective tissues, you are starving your fibroblasts, the cellular factories responsible for spinning this beautiful web. In the absence of these raw materials, your skin essentially gives up. It loses its elasticity, begins to sag under the weight of gravity, and becomes paper thin. It is a slow-motion structural collapse caused by an internal famine. The story of your hair is equally heartbreaking. A thriving head of hair is the ultimate biological luxury. It is your body's joyful declaration that it has an abundance of resources, that the internal engines are humming beautifully, and there is surplus energy to invest in ornamentation. But the moment your iron stores drop, the moment your zinc levels plummet, or the moment your thyroid gland is starved of iodine and selenium, the body slams the brakes on this frivolous expenditure. The hair follicles are unceremoniously shut down. You watch in quiet despair as your brush fills with strands of lost youth, mistakenly believing you just need a better shampoo or a scalp serum. You do not need a serum. You need to fundamentally rebuild your biological bank account. Your brittle, ridged nails tell the exact same story. They are windows into your mineral reserves, snapping and peeling because the calcium and magnesium they require are being urgently redirected to keep your blood pH stable and your cardiac rhythm steady. We are spending billions of dollars annually to paint over these flashing warning lights. We spackle our hollowed, starving faces with expensive synthetic polymers and chemical dyes, desperately trying to project an illusion of fertility and health to the world, while beneath the surface, our cells are weeping for basic nourishment. It is a profound tragedy of modern vanity. We have become a culture of beautifully painted tombs, terrified of the mirror because deep down, our primal instincts recognize the terrifying reflection of a body that is quietly, systematically eating itself alive just to survive the night. When the body has finished scavenging from the superficial tissues of your skin and hair, it turns its ravenous hunger toward the very pillars of your physical existence, your skeleton, your joints, and your connective tissues. We have been entirely brainwashed into accepting chronic joint pain, stiffness, and the gradual stooping of our posture as the normal, inevitable tax we must pay for accumulating years on this earth. We dismiss the agonizing ache in our knees, the grinding in our shoulders, and the terrifying fragility of our bones as mere mechanical wear and tear, treating our bodies like old cars with rusted shock absorbers. This is a fatal misunderstanding of human physiology. Your skeleton is not a static piece of architecture. It is a dynamic, living, breathing reservoir of vital minerals. It is the ultimate biological vault. When you continuously flood your system with the highly acidic byproducts of refined sugars, industrial seed oils, and processed chemicals, your blood becomes dangerously acidic. To prevent you from entering a fatal metabolic acidosis, your body is forced to break into its own vault. It systematically leaches calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus directly out of your bones to buffer the toxic sludge you have just consumed. Every time you indulge in that seemingly innocent pastry or that violently processed fast food meal, you are literally dissolving your own skeleton to neutralize the poison. Over years and decades of this relentless mineral extraction, your bones become hollow, porous, and terrifyingly fragile. We label this tragedy osteoporosis and act as though it is a mysterious disease that simply strikes out of nowhere, but it is nothing more than the catastrophic end stage of a lifelong mineral robbery. Yet, the horror does not stop there. Because the modern diet is almost entirely devoid of vitamin K2, a sacred nutrient found primarily in the fats of animals grazing on rich, green pastures. The body loses its biological traffic director. Vitamin K2 is the brilliant manager that tells calcium exactly where to go. When it is completely absent from your hollowed-out diet, the calcium that is violently pulled from your bones, or swallowed in cheap synthetic supplements, wanders aimlessly through your system. It does not return to the skeleton. Instead, it aggressively deposits itself into your delicate soft tissues. This is the hidden nightmare of calcification. The calcium precipitates into your joints, creating sharp, agonizing bone spurs that tear at your cartilage with every movement. It stiffens your tendons, turning what should be supple, elastic springs into rigid, brittle cables that snap under the slightest tension. Most terrifyingly, this lost calcium embeds itself into the inner lining of your arteries, hardening them into stiff, unyielding pipes that force your heart to pump with desperate, exhausting pressure. The stiffness you feel when you crawl out of bed in the morning, the agonizing crackle of your knees as you descend the stairs, the frozen shoulders that rob you of your independence. These are not the signs of a body that has simply been used too much. They are the screams of a structural system that is suffocating in a sea of misplaced calcium, completely starved of the magnesium required to relax the surrounding musculature, and utterly devoid of the collagen building blocks necessary to rebuild the degraded cartilage. We numb this excruciating structural decay with synthetic painkillers and anti-inflammatory drugs, violently shutting off the fire alarm while the house burns down around us. We are allowing our fundamental architecture to crumble into dust, trading the structural integrity of our youth for the fleeting, empty pleasure of processed convenience, completely unaware that we are locking ourselves inside a physical prison of our own making. Yet, the most terrifying consequence of this systemic starvation does not happen to your skeleton or your reflection, but within the silent, electrical universe of your mind and metabolism. There is a deeply agonizing epidemic sweeping through our society, one that cannot be seen in a mirror or diagnosed with a standard X-ray, and it is the absolute collapse of our neurological and energetic vitality. Millions of people are waking up every single morning, utterly exhausted, dragging their heavy bodies through the day wrapped in a suffocating cloud of brain fog, paralyzed by unexplainable anxiety, and drowning in a heavy, inescapable depression. We are told by the modern medical apparatus that these invisible torments are simply chemical imbalances, genetic misfortunes, or the inevitable psychological stress of modern life. They hand out prescription antidepressants, synthetic stimulants, and powerful sleeping pills with alarming casualness, attempting to artificially manipulate neurotransmitters in a brain that is literally starving to death. It is a profoundly cruel approach that entirely ignores the majestic, energy-hungry nature of the human nervous system. Your brain constitutes a mere 2% of your physical body weight, yet it ruthlessly demands over 20% of your entire energetic output just to maintain basic consciousness. It is a magnificent, densely packed electrical grid that requires an absolute torrent of high-quality fuel. It demands massive quantities of B vitamins, particularly B12 and folate, to synthesize the very neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, that allow you to feel joy, motivation, and profound calm. It requires abundant, pristine animal fats, specifically DHA and EPA, to maintain the structural integrity of the delicate myelin sheath that insulates every single nerve fiber in your body. When you feed this spectacular supercomputer a diet of rancid seed oils and synthetic, nutrient-void carbohydrates, the electrical grid experiences a massive, sustained brownout. The brain fog that terrifies you, the sudden inability to recall a simple word, the crushing lack of focus. This is not a personal failure or a psychological weakness. It is neuroinflammation. It is the agonizing physical reality of your neurons misfiring, drowning in oxidative stress, and crying out for the fat-soluble vitamins they are being systematically denied. Compounding this neurological famine is the catastrophic collapse of our endocrine system. We have been manipulated into fearing and avoiding dietary cholesterol, completely blinded to the majestic biochemical truth that cholesterol is the absolute foundational mother molecule of our entire hormonal cascade. From cholesterol, the body creates the sex hormones that give us our drive, our passion, and our vitality. It synthesizes the cortisol that regulates our stress, and the vitamin D that modulates our immune system. By embracing low-fat, highly processed, heavily plant-based industrial diets, we have quite literally starved our bodies of the raw materials required to produce the hormones that make us feel alive. We are left shivering in a state of metabolic winter. Our thyroids slow to a crawl, causing our internal body temperature to drop, our metabolisms to stall, and an unshakable, bone-deep fatigue to settle over our entire existence. We lose our libido, we lose our ambition, and we lose the vibrant spark that makes life worth living. We sit in doctors' offices, weeping in frustration, only to be told that our blood work is normal, and that it is all in our heads. It is a gaslighting of epic proportions. You are not crazy, you are not lazy, and you are not broken beyond repair. You are suffering from a profound, invisible starvation at the deepest mitochondrial level. Your internal battery is completely drained. Your electrical wires are frayed and exposed, and your chemical messengers are silenced, all because we have replaced the deeply nourishing, ancestral foods that built the human brain with cheap, synthetic counterfeits that are slowly extinguishing the light of our consciousness. We have stared into the abyss of our own biological collapse, but this is not where our story ends. It is precisely where our resurrection begins. The human body, despite the relentless abuse it has suffered at the hands of the modern industrial food complex, possesses a breathtaking, almost miraculous capacity for regeneration. It desperately wants to heal. It is simply waiting for you to stop feeding the destruction and start providing the architecture of recovery. You do not need another pharmaceutical bandage, you do not need a more expensive cosmetic illusion, and you absolutely do not need to re-sign yourself to a life of chronic decay. What you need is a radical, uncompromising rebellion against the entire system that has starved you. You must become the fierce, educated sovereign of your own biological terrain. The path to true healing requires a profound paradigm shift. You must stop viewing food as mere entertainment, emotional comfort, or a simple mathematical calculation of calories. You must begin to view every single morsel you consume as deeply encoded biological information, a vital set of instructions that will either command your cells to rebuild and thrive or instruct them to wither and die. The first, non-negotiable step in this glorious resurrection is to violently sever the root of the inflammation. You must ruthlessly purge your environment of the malicious anti-nutrients that are actively shearing the lining of your gut and paralyzing your mitochondria. The industrial seed oils, the canola, the soybean, the sunflower oils must be banished. The highly refined synthetic carbohydrates and weaponized sugars must be treated as the metabolic poisons they truly are. By removing this daily onslaught of biochemical sandpaper, you finally allow the delicate, microscopic villi of your intestinal tract the peace they require to regenerate. As the fire of inflammation subsides, the miraculous capability of absorption returns. Only then can you begin the sacred work of remineralization. We must return to the profound wisdom of our ancestors, who understood implicitly that true vitality is born from the absolute nutrient density of nature, not the sterile laboratories of food corporations. We must embrace the incredibly powerful, bioavailable nourishment of pristine animal fats, pasture-raised egg yolks, and the deeply restorative magic of rich, slow-simmered bone broths. These are not mere foods. They are pure, concentrated structural blueprints containing the exact ratios of collagen, trace minerals, and fat-soluble vitamins your failing joints and starving brain are screaming for. We must also reclaim the life-giving power of genuine, living foods. We need the fermented, probiotic-rich cultures that reseed the barren wasteland of our microbiomes, turning our digestive tracts back into thriving, symbiotic forests that can synthesize B vitamins and modulate our immune defenses. We must seek out local, regenerative agriculture, finding the farmers who are actively breathing life back into the soil, because we now understand the irrefutable truth. Healthy soil creates a healthy plant. A healthy plant nourishes the animal, and only through this unbroken, sacred chain of vitality can the human being truly flourish. Healing is not a 30-day quick fix, nor is it a passive experience where you simply swallow a new supplement and wait. It is a slow, deeply intentional process of paying back a massive physiological debt. It requires patience, immense self-love, and the quiet courage to walk away from the intoxicating convenience of the modern world. But I promise you, as the days turn into weeks, and the essential nutrients finally begin to flood back into your deeply parched tissues, the transformation is nothing short of miraculous. The fog will lift from your mind, the color will return to your skin, the pain will drain from your joints, and the beautiful, radiant spark of vitality will reignite in your eyes. You have the absolute power to change the water in your fish tank. You have the power to rewrite your biological destiny. The era of silent starvation is over. It is time to feed your cells, rebuild your terrain, and step entirely into the vibrant, powerful existence you were always meant to live. The modern epidemic of physical decay, structural deterioration, and cognitive decline is not an inevitable consequence of the passage of time, but rather the tragic result of a chronic, silent starvation. For decades, we have been conditioned to accept our fading vitality, brittle bones, and clouded minds as normal wear and tear. We treat these distress signals with synthetic cosmetics, artificial fillers, and pharmaceutical band-aids, entirely ignoring the profound internal famine driving this collapse. Our bodies, in a desperate bid for survival, systematically strip vital minerals and nutrients from our skin, hair, and skeleton just to keep our essential organs functioning against an unrelenting onslaught of industrial seed oils, refined sugars, and nutrient-void processed foods. Yet, beneath this grim reality lies a profoundly empowering truth. The human body is a magnificent, resilient engine of continuous regeneration. By shifting our perspective and recognizing every meal as deeply encoded biological information rather than mere caloric entertainment, we can halt this systemic decay. When we ruthlessly eliminate inflammatory anti-nutrients and reintroduce the dense, bioavailable nourishment of pristine animal fats, pasture-raised proteins, slow-simmered bone broths, and foods born of regenerative agriculture, we fundamentally rebuild our biological terrain. We end the brutal biochemical robbery and begin the sacred work of paying back our massive physiological debt. This biochemical resurrection requires immense patience and the fierce courage to rebel against modern convenience. But the ultimate reward is nothing short of miraculous. By reclaiming the ancestral wisdom of genuine nourishment, we can restore the vibrant, clear-minded, and resilient existence we were inherently designed to experience. The most profound lesson is that true health cannot be bought over a cosmetics counter or found inside a prescription bottle. It must be painstakingly built from the cellular level up. We cannot cheat our biological hierarchy of needs. Every external symptom of premature aging, chronic joint pain, and debilitating mental fog is simply a flashing warning light indicating that our internal biological vault has been depleted. You are the ultimate sovereign of your own physiological terrain, and your daily vitality is a direct, uncompromising reflection of the raw materials you choose to provide your body. Purge the poisons. Conduct a ruthless, immediate audit of your kitchen. Throw out the inflammatory industrial seed oils, canola, soybean, sunflower, and the highly refined carbohydrates that actively destroy your gut lining and drain your mineral reserves. Reclaim true nourishment. Replace empty, processed calories with intensely bioavailable, ancestral foods. Actively incorporate pasture-raised eggs, slow-simmered bone broths, probiotic-rich fermented foods, and high-quality, pristine animal fats to provide your cells with the precise structural blueprints they are starving for. Shift your paradigm. Stop making food choices based on momentary cravings or emotional comfort. Before every meal, ask yourself, what biological instructions am I sending my cells with this food? Treat every bite as an investment in your structural and neurological bank account. Source regeneratively. Reconnect with the origins of your food. Seek out local farmers who practice regenerative agriculture, recognizing that the nutrient density of your food is entirely dependent upon the biological richness of the soil it was grown in. What is one highly processed, inflammatory food you are willing to completely eliminate from your daily routine starting today? And what natural, whole food will you proudly replace it with? Please share your commitments and perspectives in the comments below so we can all draw inspiration and learn from one another's healing journeys. If this deep dive into reclaiming your biological terrain resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is vital and gives us the immense motivation needed to continue researching and creating high-quality, transformative content just like this.